Boom. All right, legends. Let's have a look at this. Who dares leaves? SAS recruitment falls amid concerns over leadership. Do we really think that's the only reason people don't want to join the forces anymore, let alone the SAS? Let's get into it. Hello legends, how you doing? I hope this finds you absolutely wonderful. I'm Chris Thrall. I'm a former Royal Marines Commando. And what are we doing here? Oh yeah, we're taking down a cabal because we've had enough. We've had enough of seeing people's health destroyed. Cough, cough. We've had enough of these phony shambles wars. We've had enough of our veterans coming back from these phony shambles, New World Order, neoconservative conflicts in body bags or with bits missing, and then them getting dumped on the street and having to beg for charities to help them. We've had enough of tomfoolery like these puppets, Keir Starmer, who has to be, I think, he's not just the most vacuous prime minister ever in history. I think he might be the most vacuous person ever. In fact, is he even a people? I don't know. So there we go. Anyway, look, while we just catch up for a few people to jump on the stream, please have a look at my venture. You might have noticed I didn't do any lives last week, or I might have done one. I've been preparing to summit Mount Everest, to take my mission of raising awareness of the link between childhood trauma, that's adverse childhood experiences, to give it its official name, and the amount of veterans we see killing themselves. I'm suggesting that complex PTSD, we can't just look at what happens in service. We need to look at what is this catastrophic failure that some of our brothers and sisters, for the most part brothers, because it affects men more, ending your life, what is going on. So if I can just take a minute of your time, if you've seen this and you're watching after the live, you can fast forward a minute. Morning legends, I'm Chris Thrall. I'm a former Royal Marines Commando. Upon leaving the forces, ended up chronically mentally unwell, self-medicating, undiagnosed trauma, and homeless on the streets of Hong Kong. It was the toughest battle I ever had to fight, but without the support of the medical community, without self-help groups, I learned the answers to rebuild my life and go on to complete a series of extreme charity challenges to send a vital message out there for other veterans who are struggling. I've run the length of the United Kingdom, run across the Sahara Desert, rode across the Atlantic Ocean. Now I'm taking on my biggest challenge yet, climbing Mount Everest. If you can support me, friends, and continue to shine a light for our struggling veterans and let them know there is life after PTSD, I'll put a link below. Can spare a fiver? That's absolutely fine. And let's give our veterans the respect that they deserve. Much love. Yeah. Oh, there we go, folks. Can I just point out, that's not a dead veteran in the thumbnail there. That's a homeless veteran, as I used to be. That's the closest representation I could get when I was wandering the streets of Hong Kong, so chronically mentally unwell that of all the things I clung to a guitar, because I thought there was some sort of enlightenment in a musical instrument. I wasn't very well, but without the help of any medical community, any doctors, any nurses, any self-help groups, not that there's anything wrong with reaching out for help, or any churches or anything, I thought, no, I'm gonna get this right, and I'm gonna get myself back on my feet. And I got myself back on my feet, and I, as my audience know, went on to travel 86 countries across all 7 continents, really achieving every dream that I ever had, including writing, 6 books, earning myself a degree in youth work, and, waking up every single day in paradise. I can't leave paradise now, because once you find the answer, once you step on that enlightenment kick, you can't go back. And it's very simple. The 3 things you've got to do as a veteran: leave the past behind. It doesn't exist, and it doesn't define you. What you did when you were 18 years old, which for me was the best part of 40 years ago now, doesn't define what I do tomorrow morning, does it? The second thing, we got to be grateful. A lot of our buddies are no longer here, and you and I both know they died, some of them in horrendous circumstances, way too young. And what would they give to be here now? They'd give anything, wouldn't they? They'd be like, oi, Thrawley, sort it out, right? So that's enough reason to be grateful for this incredible existence and start looking to the future. And the next thing is you take action. If you sit at home doing nothing and dwelling on the past, it's gonna bite you on the ass. It really will. When you take action, the simplest way is to make your bed in the morning and to smile at the morning sun or the morning darkness and say, thank you, universe, for giving me this opportunity called life. I'm going to get out there and smash it. I'm going to start by walking around the block. What that does, it demonstrates your subconscious that you are in charge, that you have the ability to get the results. And as a result, you elevate your consciousness. And whenever you elevate your consciousness, this incredible thing called life, if you want to call that God, that's absolutely fine, that will meet you there, and it gives you a step up, and you start spiraling up with your life instead of spiraling down. There's a few things you can do as well. Give up the substances, folks, and the pissing up, the alcohol, or at least really, really cut down on it. It's very hard to feel good about yourself when you've got a hangover. It really is. But there you go. There's my GoFundMe, folks. As I say, I think I'm probably the only person I know in the veterans community that's saying, come on, folks, we're losing lots of people. Let's stop pretending it's some obscure PTSD, Rambo, battlefield scenario, and let's start facing the truth that many of us had quite challenging childhoods. We grew up on a dodgy wicket. The military gave us a bit of family and structure for a while, and when that was taken away, boom, we fall on our ass, and it's if we can't recognize this, then we can't start helping people. And yeah, you have horrendous experiences in conflict as well. We've all seen a few of them, but that's just not the be all and end all. So there you go. That said, that's awesome. And the other thing, folks, just a very quick one, our Arctic Legends trip, the expedition of a lifetime, which will be the first week of March, is filling up. In fact, we've got 4 places left. If you want to come to the Arctic Circle with our band of brothers, all novices, all of whom have never skied before cross country, if you want to come up there, do some skiing and survival, we'll be staying in this splendid adventure centre up there in the Arctic Circle. This is my DS, Rog and John, mountain leaders, outdoor experts. We'll be putting you through your paces. We won't be shouting at you or anything stupid like that, folks. It's not, SAS who dares wins or anything. we'll just be patting you on the back and saying, come on, this is a chance to, to bond, to heal. For those of you that were never in the military, like, Chris, I was never, like, I don't want to hear, I don't care about whether you was in the military or not. I don't judge people on whether they joined up a job to kill people. That would be a bit weird. I judge you on, like, you're going to get out there and smash it with us. Come on, this is the adventure of a lifetime, and you need to do it. Not all of you, obviously. So send me an email or leave a comment below, and let's get it sorted out. The price, $1999, and we've decided to hold that across the board, folks. So that was the early bird price, but we just want to practice a bit of equality here, if that even is a word that makes sense. You know what I'm saying. So there we go. Okay. Right, in no particular order, let's just get into it. Because I haven't been live for a week, folks, I collect all these tabs, and then I haven't spoken about them, so they build up. But this is the whole this is the whole thing about the Northern Ireland legacy houndings, the legal challenges that are service personnel that have served in Northern Ireland and Afghanistan. There's currently over 100 legal cases involving the British SAS in Northern Ireland and Afghanistan. There's this new bill, it's called the Troubles Bill, I think it was. It's been instigated by Labour. Yeah, there it is there. Look, the Troubles Bill. And I think people were hoping it was going to kind of nullify or make soldiers exempt from any form of kind of legal backlash over what they may or may not historically have done. And that could be, 10 years ago in Afghanistan now, or as long as sort of 40 years ago, maybe even 50 years ago in Northern Ireland. Now, it hasn't done that. It's promised soldiers like a little bit, but it really hasn't protected them from any kind of legal challenge. Now, I can tell you the issues here are, there's a few things. There's a few things, and my mind's gone completely blank. So let's talk about sport. See the ball game last night? Yeah, good, great, wasn't it? There's a few things. So, yes, it's a tough one. What they've always said historically is you really need some good evidence to come back, because all these soldiers, maybe with the exception of the Afghanistan cases, the Northern Ireland ones have all been tried before, and the squaddies have all been found not guilty. Obviously, in a British court of law, with the sensitive, can we say, biased nature of the Troubles, the legality or the fairness of those cases, I think people would be quite right to sort of flag up. But this has been, Robin Horsfall, former SAS trooper, this has kind of been his bone of contention, is, look, these people have all been tried before. This has all been thrown out of court. Why is it been allowed to sort of resurface? The other side of the coin is, of course, if you lost a loved one in unfair, criminal circumstances. So let's just say your son or daughter went out the front door during the scam and they weren't wearing the stupid thing on their face, and a copper decided to pull his pistol and shoot him dead just because he could. is there a time when that copper becomes exempt? That it's like, oh, come on, that was like ages ago. Personally, even though we've got to move on from such things, I wouldn't see that as the case. I think if someone shot one of my family dead illegally or criminally, I don't think I'd ever want to let it go. So this is, I'm just trying to be fair and see it from both sides of the fence. But that wouldn't be my point anyway, because you're obviously, it's a highly emotive issue. People that have served are going to, for the most part, are going to see it one way. People that have been victims are going to see it another way. What I would say is, why are we not talking about 9/11? Seriously, why are we allowed to be so sideswiped and gaslit that these they're obviously not like minor infractions. If your family gets killed, it's not a minor infraction for you. It's the major thing in your life. But on the grand scale of immorality here, we've got this global cabal of merchant maniacs that are running rampant on the planet, playing with your health, fabricating conflicts and sending your children off to fight them while they rake in all the money. They're sending all your taxpayers' money to that the coke snorting criminal in Ukraine who's literally laughing at you and sharing that money out with his global mafia buddies, and no one's talking about it. But when you mention the emotive issue in Northern Ireland, suddenly it's like the biggest, it's the biggest issue we've got to face. Why have we not had an investigation, a proper one, into what happened in New York and Washington 20 years ago, off the back of which we had 20 years of conflict? Why have we not had a serious, open investigation into the medical scam, which has cost the lives of, I don't even think you can put a figure on it. On top of that, is that the only reason that the SAS are suffering a recruitment failure? How about the fact that the SAS tend to be quite intelligent? All the troopers I know and have met over the years, there's been quite a few now, I'd say exceptionally nice blokes. To a man, I've never met one that I thought was an idiot. Also really intelligent. Very low-key SAS guys are. They're not what... I remember sitting in a pub once on our para course, and I shared a room with a couple of troopers who'd just newly been badged, so they'd just come out of the jungle and done their escape and evasion and interrogation phase, and they were telling me all about it. And I remember sitting in a pub that night in Bryce Norton, or one of those pubs that we used to go in, and these two lads who were sat there by the fire reading like Nietzsche and Shakespeare. Honestly, it wasn't far off. And they had these really smart trousers on, and almost like Clark shoes that you take a brush and give a good polish. And I just remember thinking how funny it was. Here we are in this kind of military sort of scenario there at Bryce Norton, and there's two guys sat there. If they was on the TV during the SAS embassy, so like everyone in the pub would just be talking about it, and yet there's actually those two chaps there, and they were the most unassuming guys in the whole pub. It was quite impressive. But they're not stupid. They've got internet. They know who the enemy is. They know who you're working. If you join the military now, you're not exactly fighting on the side of freedom and democracy, are you? You're fighting for a global cabal. You're fighting to make the military-industrial complex, the massacre machine, even richer than richer and powerful than they already are. You're fighting for companies so that they can produce even more landmines to plant in the ground so that innocent kids wander over and get their limbs blown off, and nobody gives a damn. And it's one big chess game that's not in our favor. So my point is, I think there's a few more reasons why the military are facing recruitment problems, and there you go. Right, moving swiftly on. There's all this talk now about sending back the migrants, and apparently Denmark, I think it is, take their jewelry and all their money off them when they arrive. They don't muck around. I don't know the kind of human rightsness of all that, but apparently this is the Home Secretary. I don't watch telly or anything like that, so I have to see the odd article on the internet to find out which puppet's supposed to be doing what. But my whole point here is they're not doing nothing, are they? Let's be honest. And the reason they're not doing anything is because they're all controlled by the Sabbatean cult, the cult of Saturn, the Satanists, which, yes, is the same as the Satanists, with their New World Order. And, once you get to understand a bit about the origins of how we came to be in this global kind of stranglehold that we're in now, where the merchants just gaslight us on everything, gaslight you on your health, gaslight you on your fractional reserve banking system and your debt-based slavery, and everyone just goes along with it because it's more important what's on Strictly Come Dancing tonight, and calling everyone tinfoil hats if they dare, speak out on subjects that people don't have their eye on the ball. And if you don't understand Jakob Frank and his predecessor Sabbatai Zevi, if you don't understand Adam Weishaupt, who was the founder of something called the Bavarian Illuminati, I believe they call themselves the Light Bringers. And if you don't understand the European banking cabal headed by a certain family with a red shield, you're going to be oblivious to their plans, and their plans are to destroy white Western culture and community. You can see it there, look. And this is taken, incidentally, from Robert Sepper's wonderful book. Have I got a... Yeah, there we go. Look. 1666, Redemption Through Sin. These maniacs, folks, like you and I, we're taught all these set of moral values, aren't we? And we go along with it because genuinely in our heart, we know that good is good. And you got to treat other people the way that you want to, and we don't always do that. Sometimes we're idiots and we're horrible to people, or we steal something, or and we kind of get better as we get older, don't we? We realize there's a kind of like a there's like a moral energy that runs through things, and if you fuck with it, you face karma, and it just comes back, and you get more unhappy. This lot, they don't care about that. What they've done is they've all just signed up with this cabal. And they're like, do you know what? Like, who says you should be good? That's just a bit sissy, isn't it? It's a bit, let's just be bad. Let's just not just be bad. Let's be really bad. Let's really things up. Let's do horrible thing to, small people, and, let's continue the Baal worship of our forefathers. And they're all maniacs. They all take scripture literally. We're going to come on and look at this in the end. And I'm teaching people, incidentally, if you're new to the show, I'm teaching people how to decode what is going on. And the worst thing you're going to see at the moment is people taking the Bible literally like it's a book of prediction or revelation, as in, yeah, and then there's going to be like 7 plagues and, you know, lightning and brimfire is going to cut, and people actually believe that this is like a prediction of end of time, and it's absolutely not. Scripture is incredible. It's an incredible esoteric code. So if you're in the military, you might remember you didn't just send messages, did you, when you're on exercise? Because if you did, the enemy who are listening in know exactly your movements and your plan. What you did is you encoded them. We used something called bat code, didn't we? Battle code. And that meant that the enemy could listen to your message and they would have no clue what you were talking about. The enemy in this case are your cabal, are your bankers, are your politicians, are everyone that's bought into this material realm, thinking that they're going to get great gain somehow by accumulating more and more money in the bank. As if that works. You think how many rock stars commit suicide? It's proven that money that doesn't. If you haven't got your basics right, you can't ever enjoy it, can you? Right? And so what they did, the ancients, the people that realized how to conjure up enlightenment, which is to take charge of your energy rather than let life take charge of your energy, they wrote this down in code, just like we use Batco. And you have to be able to decode it. Whereas this lot, they don't ever want you to know it. So off the back of their plan, which they put together, even though the cabal's been going for 4,000 years when they took control of the money supply, here's a good book if you're interested to understand that, Babylonian Woe. Mike and I talk about this a lot. Part of their New World Order plan is to destroy your spiritual connection. That's why they created church. They want you to go in a concrete box once a week, talk about this kind of gobbledygook stuff that really no one has a clue what it's like means because it's senseless. Sing a few Kumbaya songs. You know, Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. Oi, Des, you still fiddling with the kids? Yep. Nice one. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. All right, Mike, still on the coke, yeah? A few lines tonight? Hey. Right? And nothing changes, does it? It's like a happy, clappy club that's got no answers for how do you physically actually elevate your consciousness to a higher level so that you transcend this material version of you and you access the esoteric information that's in play in this scenario. And this lot, with their global cabal, the merchants, when they pushed forward with the empires, they took control of people by all the means that we know: slavery, forced labor, stealing the wealth, stealing the gold, the raping and the pillaging. And then when the empires, you know, they couldn't sustain themselves because they need an awful lot of power and riches to keep an empire going. When they start to falter, they'll pull back to Rome, for example. And they left behind these methods of control. They left behind the secret societies. They left behind the fractional reserve banking, the debt-based money system. They left behind organized religion, so that people think that they're living this spiritual existence when really it's chalk and cheese. It's two completely different things. And they pulled back to Rome, and the cabal, they went to their swamp, didn't they? Their swamp, what was it called? Venice. The Venetians where they continued to practice their money magic, their witchcraft, debt-based slavery. And if you don't believe it works, look how many people went along with the Mickey Mouse medical stuff just because they were scared of losing their job or being unable to pay the mortgage. It's these guys know what they're doing. So my point is, getting back to this, are they going to tell you what I just told you? Of course they're not. They're going to keep giving you these little tidbits, making you think that they're doing something about immigration, where until we start talking about, the cabal and its plans to overthrow the values of all other religions and kingdoms. There you go. By religion, that means like spirituality, folks, not the religion that they've installed. Folks, could we get some likes and subscribes, please? That would be really kind of you. If I don't ask, we don't get any. If you could like and subscribe, that would be mentful. And let's move swiftly on, shall we? This is it. I'm not going to dwell on this, folks, because but I did notice this came up. I was just a bit surprised more people weren't mentioning it. Epstein files expose his links with Europe's far right. Yes, we know they're not a far right, folks. We're not here to demonize anyone. They're patriots, aren't they? Is what when the media say far right, they just mean your average person who's kind of a patriot that's wondering what the hell's going on. But I highlighted this not to demonize Tommy, because I think I think Tom's done a good job recently of screwing himself up, if you get what I'm saying. I don't think there's any coming back from this one, if I was completely honest. I'm not saying that he won't still have his hardcore of followers. What I'm saying is one, you understand the Rothschilds' creation of Israel as a seminal part of the New World Order. Remember, Rothschilds. You've got your Sabbateans, you've got your Enlightenment, your Bavarian Illuminati, and then the third part of that triumvirate was the European banking aristocracy. That's your Rothschilds. They created Israel as their front company with which to hide behind to do business, and they've done a good job. You try criticising any of this lot, they're just going to call you anti-this or anti-that. And it's worked quite well for a number of years, that slur, because people are, oh God, I can't be called that. People think I'm racist. I'll everyone will jump on the bandwagon. It's like when you used to be called tinfoil hat, and people would, shy away from it. And now no one gives a shit, because now people realise when you get called that, it's actually a badge of honour. But that's what they did. They set up their front company off of something called the Balfour Treaty. They basically had their boy Balfour in Parliament, and he stood up one day and went, do you know what? Should we take this land that belongs to these lovely Palestinians and we'll just give it to some refugees? And the British government went, oh, well, don't have any objections with that, even though that they were entrusted to look after that very land off the back of the First World War. So it was all a bit unfair. And what they've managed to do is it conflate when you tie two ideas that are completely wrong in with each other to kind of mislead people. Well, let me use that word anyway. They've conflated the notion of radical Islam with the poor Palestinians who are nothing. Off the back of the H group, I'm not going to say that word, the H group, clearly a creation of Netanyahu, funded through Qatar, and you got your average person there in the street, they don't know any difference, do they? So they just think, oh, Palestinians, they're all a bunch of, I don't want to say the T word, but they're a bunch of rebel rousers. So quite clever. But apparently that, You know, if you don't believe that Israel got their fingers and thumbs in all of this, this is in the Telegraph, folks. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying that this was in the Telegraph. Apparently Jeffrey Epstein was quite interested when Tommy was released from prison. Yes. Truth is stranger than we're probably ever going to know in the Epstein case. What they're talking about, releasing the files, looking at Donald Trump's behaviour. I say a certain small country have got quite a lot on him. Would you not? I'm not being horrible to anyone, folks. I'm just saying, as Marjorie Taylor Greene has come out and said today, he's backtracked on everything. Everything that was in the interest of the American people, he's backtracked. He's given big tech to all the kind of, Silicon Valley billionaires, Palantir and Bill Gates and the like. People like Bill Gates, who should be behind bars for crimes against humanity, now made even more powerful than they already should be. He's made a certain small country even more rich and powerful than they should be. It's getting interesting, isn't it? All right, moving on. More subterfuge here. Did the BBC kill Diana? The thing that fascinates me more about the Diana case, first of all, would be the fact she stood up against the landmines and people were listening. But I did a video a while back, and this is what interests me more about Diana. And why is no one asking questions about this? That, the cabal, they love their symbolism, don't they? And they love their mythology. And in Greek mythology, Diana was the goddess of hunting. And Diana was always pictured with the dog jumping up at her. And, tell me if this is a coincidence or not. On their honeymoon, Charles and Diana, they shunned going doing what normal people would do, having a week in Ibiza, popping a few pingers and, telling some random strangers that they love them. No, instead, they went to the hunting lodge at Balmoral. That's the picture there on the right. And can you see it's almost a direct representation of Diana, the goddess of hunting? And there was a whole load of stuff. There was a whole load of bizarre stuff surrounding her demise. This is the flame of the enlightened ones, isn't it? This is the same flame that's on the Statue of Liberty. And this is the statue that's on top of the Pont de Alma tunnel, where Diana and Dodie met there last, along with Henri Poole, the driver. It was only Trevor Rees-Jones, the bodyguard, the former paratrooper, that survived because he was the only one that had his seatbelt on. Very bizarre stuff. So one of the witnesses, they said in the Fiat Uno that was later found painted red, it was an immigrant. He was a Vietnamese immigrant who owned that Fiat Uno, the Uno that was said to have nudged the car. Someone reported that it had a big black dog in the car. So you can see the link, the dog link here. And then this was Shelley Ann Clarecourt, a spokeswoman for Diana's brother. They were horrified that when Diana died, they buried her on the island on the Althorpe estate. And the reason they were horrified is that's where it was a pet cemetery. It's where they buried their dead animals, and they chose it to bury Diana. And it used to be a cemetery for family pets, including her favourite cat Marmaduke. The island at one time was a burial site for pets. The records of 4 or 5 of them, said this Shally Clare court. I cannot believe Earl Spencer could be so heartless as to bury his sister in a dog burial ground. It's a desecration. Really bizarre. Bizarre, isn't it? Bizarre. There you go. But that Diana thing, the goddess of hunting, please tell me that's not strange. Another reference here. Sorry, I pulled up a load of stuff back in the day on this. Look, a pack of dogs that hounded. See what they've done there? How clever these journos are. That hounded Princess Diana. Another reference here to Diana and the black dog. And apparently that Prince Charles's dog, I can't remember where it was, but anyway, there's a reference here somewhere to the dog that Prince Charles had. Diana, she didn't like it. I think it was that Labrador. She asked him to get rid of it. Yes. There's always more to these things than meets the eye, hey? So, right, getting back on track. All this bullshit, folks, about all these studies that come out. So they've done a study on mice, and the result of the study is they've said you're absolutely allowed to eat what you want all through winter. Good news, if you're racked of guilt for winter overeating, thanks to science, you can polish off that roast and sticky toffee pudding guilt-free. I won't go into the study that they've done. I just wanted to point it out that you've got to ignore all this food study stuff that they come out with. They never know what they're talking about. They're never, ever, ever going to mention your body's pH balance, which is the single most important thing you can ever learn. Put that above all your conspiracy stuff and your, this, that, and the other. As soon as you understand that that a carbohydrate diet, which is what most people the planet over eat. If you're in China, it's rice and meat. If you're in Thailand, it's noodles and meat and rice and meat. If you're in Italy, it's pasta and pizza dough. If you're in the UK, it's potatoes and chips. And what the carbohydrate does, it dumps loads of acid in your. It's high on the glycemic index, and glucose is sugar, and sugar in your body's not good. And when your body gets absolutely flooded with this stuff, it can only get rid of so much at a time. You become toxic. And then eventually your body has to get rid of this overabundance of acid. And of course, excuse me a sec. Do you see what I'm getting at? And what do the cabal do? They brand it a bogeyman, right? Do you see what I'm getting at? Sometimes in life, folks, you've got to see the wood for the trees. You've got to figure it out. Think what most people eat. Unless you eat an abundance of veg, specifically green veg, your body's going to be acidic. And you're heading for, I've got to be careful what I say here, a lack of well-being. So all of these studies, just ignore them. What I would say is Dun, dun, dun. A lot of people have been messaging me about the super greens. I've been using super greens for 22 years now, folks. That's when I first understood about the body's pH level. What super greens is, it's highly concentrated green powder, and it alkalizes your body's tissues. You just have it in a drink. It doesn't taste particularly nice. It doesn't taste particularly horrible. It's kind of an earthy sort of taste. You can mix it with lemon and lime. No, you can't mix it with fruit juice, because fruit juice is fructose. It's just sugar or another form of sugar. And what it does is it helps your body balance your pH balance by flushing out the acid. If you want to tell how you are, get some of these strips. They're like $2.99, I think, on eBay. There's a link for both of these, folks, in the description box below in my Amazon shop. I might make a few pence off you should you decide to make a purchase, but I'm sure you don't begrudge me that, because this is the single most important thing you can ever learn in your life. Forget what happened in New York and Washington. Forget, people trying to stick toxic stuff into your body. Forget what's going on. Forget your asylums. Forget your K-plan and your Sabbaty and Frankists and yada yada. Forget all. This is the most important thing, because if you don't balance your pH, you're not going to get your connection with the divine. There you go. So moving on. I'll put this one here. There's a lot of talk, isn't there? These weight loss jabs. There is no shortcut to health, folks. Moderate exercise. Cut down the calories. I only eat plants, or I've only eaten plants for the last, eight months now. I've always been majority plant-based anyway, but I used to not be as strict as I am now. But what with Everest coming up, I got to up my game, haven't I? I need to be a high performer. So this morning I was running up the big hill twice. I'm now just about to start introducing weight into that equation. You don't have to go to those lengths, folks. You just need moderate exercise. The very minimum, you should be walking around the block in the morning just to get your head in the right place. But if you do that, you build from there. Whenever you exercise, it's got to be fun. If you're one of these people, you go to the gym and you haven't been for like 6 months because you lost your motivation, and then what you do in the gym, you do like a 6.5 hour session. That's pain. That's not fun. You want to get in there, roll around on the mat, do a bit of yoga, stroke stretching, whatever you can find on the internet. Get some light weights. Get the ones that make you look like you're a wimp. Just do a few curls and this sort of stuff, some squats, just really light stuff. And then if you want, you can build up from there. But when you see people going on maximum exertion, and they're kind of all cramming chicken down their face, and yeah, it's to be an elite athlete, folks. It's not what you think. Honestly, it's very simple. When it comes to these shortcuts, like whatever this fat jab is, folks, his apparently Robbie's been talking about it. You're not stupid, are you? If you take a shortcut, you're going to have to pay for that down the line in terms of your health. I wouldn't be doing it. Dun dun dun. So. Yes, gosh, there's a lot here. I don't think I'm going to go over all of it, folks. Oh, Trump's peace plan. Listen, I know a lot of people put their heart into Trump and they was really hoping for a different outcome. It's like this. It's a special journey to become an enlightened individual, folks. And it's only unless you're born an exceptionally nice person or you had a particularly brilliant upbringing, you're not going to find yourself a multi-millionaire property magnate in charge of a nation and not be extremely biased towards money and power? Can I say that? That would just be weird. And I'll bring you back to that video that Donald done, that speech after he was voted in the first time. I can't find this speech. I wish I could. He did this speech. He was doing his talk to the people, you know, from his lectern. And he went, yes, so, you know, I'm president of the United States. What an election campaign. You know, lock up Hillary. They fell for that one, didn't they? And I'm listening to it thinking, did you just say that was all like bullshit? Which is what he just said. And he went, and well, he said, what else was it? Oh yeah, build the wall. They sure lapped that one up. And I'm listening and thinking, you mental person, you're forgetting that you're talking to the people that have just voted you in. And you're talking to them as though they were gullible idiots that believed all your rhetoric. Just got to look at people's actions on this whole Ukraine thing. So they've smashed up Ukraine for BlackRock. Putin's going to get his Donbass region, which, let's be honest, they was all Russian speaking anyway. That'll be annexed off. Same as Crimea. In Crimea, 98.5% of the people affiliated with being Russian, not Ukrainian. So they literally were quite happy, you know, to be sort of taken under the wing of Russia. We've naively sent all our taxpayers' hard-earned money there. So Zelensky and Kolomoisky and all the rest of the global mafia have siphoned it off, and they're laughing at us, you know. And Zelensky's there begging for more. You know, this is a guy that, and I don't mean this disrespectfully if you're gay or you're into S&M and bondage, but this was a gay S&M dancer. That's who he was when he was plucked from obscurity by Kolomoisky, thrust into the limelight through Kolomoisky's TV station, got the love of the people, and then he was pitched as president, which obviously he was unanimously voted in for. And off the back of that, you know, he owes favors. This is a corrupt person. Why do you got to see the pattern here? Obama, Zelensky, the Macron. You know, this is a global cabal that believes in you know, they believe in doing their thing. And once you see it, you can't unsee it, can you? So if you think that some good's going to come out of this, just look at the players involved. This guy here, Kirill Dmitriev, he's the chap on the Russian side, right? He's the CEO of the Russian Direct Investment Fund. And he's a Goldman Sachs boy. So he's a merchant, folks, is what I'm saying. You've got a merchant representing Russia as part of the peace process. And then on the American side, you've got this guy, Steve Witkoff, a member of the Great American Revival industry groups created to combat the economic impact of the scam, right? Let's call it what it is, folks. So this is someone that completely went along with one of the biggest crimes ever in certainly in recorded human history. Witkoff, who's of Russian Jewish descent, was born in the Bronx and raised in Baldwin Harbor. After graduating, he worked for New York City real estate firm where one of his clients was Donald Trump. What would George say? Oh, we got to have some George. We've got to get George up. What would George say? I don't know where.
Don't shoot the messenger. I'm only here to help you understand and understand who you really are. And today we're going for the truth. I want to.
No, we're not going for the truth today. We're going for George. Let's have a look.
There's a reason. There's a reason for this. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. Yeah. You know?
Thank you, George. Yes, it's a big club. I don't think we're going to get the result that we want while we keep buying into the material world. I think we're going to keep getting let down. I think Donald's controlled by the old Chabad, as you can clearly see. Putin was actually brought up by the Chabad. The Chabad is a cult, folks, a very powerful one. This chap's actually called Putin's rabbi because he tells Putin what to do. And I don't think your and my best interests are really going to be put forward here. Sorry, there's the Diana thing again. Moving on. Keir Starmer getting. Let's have a look at Keir Starmer embarrassing himself.
For social media posts for free speech in country. We still have a proud Christian leader. And it really begs the question to the Prime Minister, if you don't mind, are we still a Christian country? We still have 12,000 people a year here being arrested for social media posts for free speech violations. Does that not remain an important area that there is still a lot of disagreement on?
I'd like to have you answer that.
Yeah, look, I mean, in terms of a Christian country, I was christened, so that is my church has been all my life, and we are, that is wired into our informal constitution. Of course, we celebrate many other faiths as well.
And sorry, can't watch him all. It's nonsense. Jesus didn't come here, folks, for you to tell him how bloody awesome he is. As matey boy's trying to make it. Jesus came here to show you how awesome you are. And watching these, I've got to watch my language because I said I'd stop swearing, didn't I? Watching these duckheads take scripture and absolutely desecrate it for their own greedy ends. It's, yes. So on that note, look, I'm going to bug out here. There's so much more to say. There's all this stuff going on, folks. Remember, you're born perfect. For you to be here now means your DNA is insanely mental. Your ancestors have come through so much to be here. They've come through ice ages and famine. They have the ability to run up to hundreds of miles at a time without food in their stomach as they move between gathering grounds and different, weather patterns. And the notion that in 2020, all of that went out the window and the only people that could save you were a cabal of global merchant mentalist billionaires. It's rather silly, and you got a choice in life, haven't you? You can let absolute evil control your life and tell you what to do and what you put in your body, or you can say, do you know what? Nah, I'm going to eat my greens, jog around the block in the morning, and live my life. Thank you. So I'm going to keep this short. So I'm going to just move on. I was talking this morning on locals, folks. So if you didn't catch my stream this morning on locals, this was for our locals audience only. I did a stream for the people that support me financially over there. But one of the things I would just want to pick up on, we talked about the story of Judas. And, this is the stuff the cabal don't want you to know. They want you to have a very kind of, one-dimensional view of Scripture, and to think that the Bible's a history book and this kind of stuff. And it's not. It's like I said, it's a secret code. And what I did is I've been doing this breakdown. You see, one thing I've learned in life is whatever the masses do, you should be doing something different. And that's because the masses are controlled, and you don't want to be controlled. You want to be free. And when you look at Scripture and you talk about the story of Judas who betrayed Jesus, they'd always make it out that, he's the bad guy. Even led to the expression, didn't it? You're a Judas, or he's a Judas. And when you understand the secret code that I'm always talking about, it's not even anything like. You see, Judah comes from the tribe of Judah, which is not a people. In fact, I'll show you the notes that I pulled up. It comes from the tribe of Judah. Now, you remember, is it the tribe of Judah that camp on the east side? So Judah is a reference to enlightenment. The Lion of Judah is a reference to that energy, the Kundalini energy that rises within you, that hits your pineal and your pituitary gland, fires them off, which gets you living in harmony with the universe instead of controlled by it, which allows you to access the right hemisphere of your brain. Hence, Adam and Eve went east of Eden. Jesus said, cast your net on the right hand side of the boat. And so the camp of Judah, when you hear about anything to do with the right hand side, it's an allegory for accessing the right hemisphere of the brain, the 90%. So you've got to give your tithing. Your tithing is nothing to do with money that you pay church, your 10% of your earnings, the church will tell you. It's not about that. It's saying that 10% of your mind is your left brain. That's your rational brain. That's to help you, to help you function and make sense of everyday practical things. Your right hand brain is your esoteric brain. That's where your kindness, your love, your empathy, your emotion, your understanding. That's when you develop your third eye, when you can look at a scenario, look at the words coming out of politicians' mouth, and you just know they're lying. You can see it. When the merchants come out and they say they've got this medical procedure now that you just like you gaslighting liars, you absolute evil cheats. I'm not going anywhere near that, and nor is none of my loved ones. Thank you very much. That comes from the accessing the right hemisphere of the brain. So Judah, tribe of Judah, is allegory for enlightened consciousness. The Lion of Judah is the energy rising inside you. So Judas himself is an allegory for enlightenment. The 30 pieces of silver is allegory for the moon, and 30 is obviously the cycles of the moon. The moon has a fundamental effect on human consciousness. And in short, what's going on here is, and remember, this isn't a story. This didn't happen. Although there was probably a wonderful chap, Yeshua, the Jesus that maybe wandered the Sea of Galilee 2,000 years ago. We don't know, do we? You know, I know my sort of relationship there, but everyone will have their own. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about here, this is an allegory. So this is saying that Judas represents enlightened consciousness, and he betrays Jesus because he's betraying the material image of Jesus. Jesus said, don't worship me. Don't do the things I do. I'm here to empower you to do the things that you should do. And when he gets the 5 wounds on the cross, it's an allegory for overcoming the material self, overcoming the 5 senses and this material deception. And when you overcome that, then you ascend to heaven, i.e. paradise on earth. And where do you sit? You sit at the right-hand side of God. So this is nothing to do with people with beards sitting on clouds or angels with wings or anything like that. It's just a very clever code for understanding the biochemical processes that are going on in your body as we speak. And it's saying when you learn to overcome the material self, as Jesus did on the cross, ascending to heaven, which you do through meditation or fasting, then you bypass this delusional circuit that people call Chris, and you get a direct conduit to the divine. This is why Judas betrayed Jesus. He's saying, hey, you don't follow the guy. Do what he's saying. I don't know how much this is making sense, but it doesn't have to make perfect sense. Just want to drop this kind of penny in there to keep up this work we're doing, because remember, the cabal don't want you to know this stuff, folks. And the next time the next Donald Trump comes along, whoever he's going to be, you know what's going to happen. Everyone's going to chuck their chips on his square, aren't they? He's going to be the new Messiah. He's coming to save us. Oh, he's against the cabal. And we're going to be disappointed. But what you can do is you start with yourself and you save yourself. And, you save yourself. And that's a great place to be, because it means you wake up every day in paradise. You're putting out a higher level of energy. You have a better effect on people that you meet. People want to be around you. They want to emulate you. What, Chris, you don't have any of that medical? No, I don't. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm sort of here. I've heard that from a couple of people now that they don't do any of that. No, not at all. And you eat vegetable. Yeah, absolutely. And you don't drink. Haven't for a while. And it works. Yeah, it works. Works really, really well. Yeah, I'd sort of heard that. And I guess what we're talking is ultimately we're raising the collective consciousness. And, that's that in this current state of mental ill health, so many people struggling, so many people lost, so many people living in the past, living with their trauma, almost kind of embracing that trauma as their identity. And we can't be doing that, we can't be living in the material self. It's only going to lead to unhappiness. So there we go. Oh, come on. I'll do a bit more on the esoteric stuff, folks. I just wanted to dip into it because it's way more important than understanding what the SAS are or are not doing at this moment in time. This is the real warrior stuff, because warriors read books, don't they? And as Sun Tzu said, if you understand yourself and you understand your enemy, then in 1,000 battles you can never be defeated. There we go. Right, I'm gonna knock off now, folks. Massive thank you to everybody in the chat. Let me just come and say, can we like and subscribe, friends? That'd be absolutely awesome. If you can like and subscribe, that's brilliant. If you can chuck us a $5 for my Everest expedition to shine a light for struggling veterans, there's a link below. And just come and have a quick look at the chat. Where are we? There we are. Steady number 1. Thank you for your support as ever. I don't want to say your name, shipmate, but you might tell me no, that's fine. It's just if people adopt pseudonyms online, it doesn't really help saying their name, does it? They might not want their name mentioned. And I've just got to say something, folks, to a certain gentleman who I know wants to remain anonymous. So I will do that. But I received this absolutely wonderful card this week. Quite scriptural, isn't it, with the fish? Fish is fish in allegory, folks, means wisdom, spiritual wisdom. And it came all the way from the good old US of A. And inside was, let's just say, a significant contribution to my mission to raise awareness of complex PTSD by summiting Everest in April. So to the gentleman concerned, massive love to you, shipmate. Thank you so much. That was so kind of you. There we go. Yes, Darren gets it, don't you, Darren? Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Thank you, Spanish Chicken. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Yes, everything in Scripture, folks, it's on the inside. Everything in the Bible is talking about what goes on within you, in your temple and in your body. It's not an exterior. Once you start talking about, oh, there was a boat, right, and it was called the Ark, and they chucked a lot. It's like, oh, you had it, you lost it, didn't you? You lost it. You went old school and believing in all the superstitious. That's silly. That's silly. It's far better to understand it. Water, great flood is elevation of consciousness because it's earth, water, air, fire. So when you hear about water, crossing the Red Sea, it's talking about elevating your consciousness to enter the promised land of milk and honey, serotonin and DMT. This is the good stuff. There we go. Yes, you could not make it up. There we go. On that note, folks, I will love you and leave you. Remember, there's days when you wake up, life isn't the way that you want it to be, is it? You know, and those are tough days. We all have them. That's when you got to remember to keep believing in you, keep believing in your special dream. You're born a legend, you'll die a legend. You make sure you know you're a legend in between. And the simplest way to cut straight to a good day is cut out all the human shit, right? That humans are always going to let you down, and that's fine once you understand that. It doesn't, that's not an issue. The issue is you got to put that to one side, short circuit it, and make your connection with the divine, because that's what you are. You're a divine manifestation of God, of the all, the everything, the whole shebang, the whole experiment. And that's amazing, because that means a few things. First of all, it means you have eternal life. You can't die. You're just going to metamorphosize, is that the right word? And you'll become, your consciousness will go back to the great consciousness, and you will develop different form and experience stuff in different ways. So that's the beautiful thing. It also means you can't worry about anything. If you're divine consciousness, you're eternal. You've been here forever. You'll be here forever. You can't be worrying about what Sid's doing at number 25. It's not your issue. Forget that. All you got to do is maintain that connection. You do it like this. There you go, simple. You just switch it all off. You're not looking for gurus. You don't need teachers. You don't need to go chanting on a Tibetan mountain. It's just shut the noise off. Bypass it all. Straight. Conduit to the divine. You are everything. You can be everything. And that's how we do it. And if you really want to strengthen that connection, consider water fasting. Promise you, a week of water fasting, you're gonna know what life's all about. There we go. Have a great evening, folks. If you can like and subscribe, that'd be absolutely awesome. And if you want to come to the Arctic with us, send me a message. Much love.